In the late 1980s, the border town of Matamoros, Mexico became the stage for a gruesome and terrifying discovery. A cult blending drug trafficking, black magic, and ritual sacrifice would shock the world. At its center stood Adolfo Constanzo, a man who called himself El Padrino, the godfather of a macabre religion fueled by blood and greed. It all began on March 14, 1989. Mark Kilroy, a 21-year-old pre-med student from Texas, vanished during a spring break trip. He had been enjoying the lively bars of Matamoros with friends when he disappeared into the night, leaving no trace. Kilroy's disappearance ignited a massive search effort. His uncle, a U.S. Customs agent, used his connections to pressure Mexican authorities, turning a local case into an international incident. The breakthrough came on April 1st, 1989, when Serafin Hernandez Garcia, a member of a local drug cartel, drove through a police checkpoint. He believed himself invisible, protected by magical rituals performed by Constanzo. Police pursued him to Rancho. What they found defied comprehension. A small shack house, a cauldron filled with blood, animal remains, and human body parts. The ground around the ranch concealed 15 shallow graves. Among the victims was Mark Kilroy, whose mutilated body has been used in a ritual sacrifice. Adolfo Constanzo, a Cuban-American, had built a following blending Santeria, Palo Mayombe, and his unique brand of black magic. His cult, known as Los Narcosatanistas, consisted of drug cartel members seeking supernatural protection for their criminal enterprise. Constanzo convinced them that human sacrifices would make them invincible. Kilroy's murder was peculiarly heinous. Constanzo believed a sacrifice of an Anglo male would grant even greater power. Kilroy was tortured for hours before Constanzo delivered a fatal machete blow to the back of his head. His brain and spinal column were removed and used in a ritual. As authorities arrested cult members, the full extent of the terror was revealed. Victims ranged from rival drug dealers to innocent civilians, their remains desecrated and used in rituals. Constanzo's belief in his invincibility ultimately led to his downfall. On May 6, 1989, Constanzo and his followers were cornered in a Mexico City apartment. In a final act of defiance, Constanzo ordered his own execution, preferring death to capture. His body, riddled with bullets, marked the end of a reign of terror.
Who was Adolfo Costanzo, El Padrino?
This is a guy that comes up in a period. I think he's at that initial period of cartels. This is before my time, and I've talked to some of the people that were there for some of that.
I mean, he killed a lot of people.
He was exposed and learned through his family ties about some of the Afro-Caribbean spiritualities that are now also exploding as far as influences across the world, Latin America and in the U.S. When I talk about that, I mean Santeria, Palo Mayombe, basically some old spiritual practices coming out of Africa that utilize things like ngangas, which are basically spiritual vessels that have to be loaded with human remains in some cases. He was basically a spiritual practitioner that certain cartel groups would hire for them to curse the other side, to imbue them with invisibility, to be able to transport their drugs or protection spells and stuff like that. He was very successful at it, apparently, or at least that is the experience of the people paying for some of these practices. As his spells and his work kept getting bigger and bigger and more complicated, the ingredients he needed for these ngangas or these spells, these cauldrons that he would fill with certain elements, grew in complexity. Till finally he said he needed the brain of a highly educated American of some sort, which led to his eventual downfall. He was basically responsible for abducting and murdering a young American who was a university college student, I think.
Do you think he believed so this guy's murdering people to create what, magical potions?
Vessels, yeah.
Vessels.
I think he truly believed that he was capable of doing what he was doing, I guess.
And there was a culture that's spiritually inclined that kind of was on the same wavelength as him.
Yeah, it jived. I mean, some of these spiritual practices, again, there's There's a ritualistic cannibalism done by some of these cartel groups out there.
Was he involved in cannibalism as well?
He wasn't involved in cannibalism that I know of, but most of the things that he was kind of known for was basically requesting human body parts for some of the spell works he was doing. And then going to such a level where he needed a specific brain or head of somebody that was educated and American. So that kind of, again, led to his eventual downfall. His ranch was raided. They found the body parts inside of these cauldrons that he was preparing.
The story of Narcosatanists is a chilling reminder of the depth of human depravity. Rancho Santa Elena stands as a haunting symbol of the horrors that unfold when greed, power, and belief collide.